What up, guys? James from Bolt Bros here. Want to go over some trade targets for the Chargers for the November 5th trade deadline coming up soon. You know what? There's a lot of potential players out there, a lot of movement already for some players. So, once again, some of these teams are desperate to get rid of players because they know the season might be over with, or they're just thinking for the future at this point. So, I got 5 players I want to chat about, and one of them is shooting for the moon, boys. So, once again, James from Bolt Bros. Let's go.
Bolt Bros.
All right, guys. Once again, appreciate all the love and support. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel if you have not. We always appreciate the love and support, and slap some comments in below. And we'd love to be able to hear from you on the thoughts of these players that we are going to spotlight here. And if there's any other players that you want to talk about, hey, throw it in the comments below. So once again, let's jump right into it. So obviously, Joe Ortiz is our new GM. He's been solid with us. He's done some really good trades thus far. Elijah Molden, 2026 pick. We got obviously Taylor Henneke, late round pick. We basically have added some players to this team, even through the free agency side of things, that have really panned out extremely well for this team. So maybe Joe Ortiz wants to cook a little bit for the trade deadline. We hope to see it. We haven't seen in a very, very long time under Telesco. So Joe Ortiz, we need him to cook. Let's go. Let's jump into one of the players here real quick. That might be a great target here. So cornerback room's been a topic of discussion. You know, feel like a little thin at the cornerback room. Now Cam Hart, Tariq still has done well. Dean Leonard could go out there and do his thing. But, you know, at the same side, we got Asante Samuel Jr. on basically his last year of his contract. We got also Christian Fulton on a 1-year contract. You think a little bit ahead at this point. So let's go over to this player here. Greg Newsome, the second from the Cleveland Browns, a team that is struggling 1-5 at this point, guys. They got a Deshaun Watson contract that's real hefty. They got players that might get a little disgruntled at this point. Maybe don't want to be there. Greg Newsome was on the trade block in the offseason. Maybe it's a time to pull that trigger. They already got rid of Amari Cooper. Why not Greg Newsome? You know, Greg Newsome has done a pretty good job as a cornerback. He actually was around the 69 rating under PFF. He has done well. He has gotten some picks. He's done well against the pass, all these different things. He's done a great job. Adding a guy like this is another young player that you could add to this team, another player that you could possibly grow with this team, have him for some years ahead from this point. Maybe sign him to a pretty good size contract to make sure you solidify that corner position even further. Thinking next year, 2025, this is a guy that could kind of grow with this defense and with the team. Who knows? Browns are a little desperate at this point. 1-5 ain't going to be probably dead in the water at this point, guys. It's a tough division, and it's not going to get any easier for these guys at this point. It's kind of a mess right now for the whole team. So who knows? Greg Newsome. Do we go out there and try to add more cornerback experience to this team? Who knows? I think it's not a bad idea, in my opinion. I mean, you got to think further down the road, 2025. Maybe you could build your team now and then think 2025, you got guys ready to go already. So a lot of 1-year contracts on this team, guys. So thinking ahead might not be a bad move. I don't know what they would ask for compensation. Let's say it's a 5th-round pick. Would you pull the trigger on that? Who knows? I want to hear from you. Moving on. Obvious one here, Mike Will. You know what? I think a fair amount of Chargers fans seem pretty excited to be able to have him here and bring him back somewhere or another. Obviously, he was not going to get paid the way he was going to get paid with the Jets here with the Chargers. He went out, got paid, kind of rehabbed his knee. Might not be the same old Mike Will that we know. He is getting up there in age a bit too. But, you know, continuity is the big thing. You know, why that whole Devontae Adams trade happened to the Jets is because Aaron Rodgers would have continuity with a wide receiver. He's already got Alan Lazard over there too. It's like he's bringing the Packers over there, basically. That's his whole thing. I'm just waiting for Randall Cobb to come over there now too. I mean, maybe he is already there. I don't know. But either which way, continuity is a big thing for a quarterback. Aaron Rodgers talked about that. A lot of the analysts out there has talked about that. Adding a guy like Mike Williams is continuity for Justin Herbert. That could be something that really helps out the Chargers. Now, I think this is something that will develop with Mike Williams. So it's probably not something they need to pull trigger on at this point, but as the trade deadline gets closer, he might be one of those trade targets for the Chargers. So do you want to have a reunion of Mike Will back to the Chargers? I would love to be able to hear from you on that one and your thoughts too. So it would be an interesting move for sure. Moving on. DeAndre Hopkins. Now, once again, he is a guy that is getting up there in age, 32, but the guy has produced year after year. Now, I'm saying this year he's not producing as well. Maybe different system, situation, different quarterback. Things just might not be clicking the same, but he is basically still out there making things happen. He did have a great game against the Packers earlier this year. 6 catches, 73 yards, 1 touchdown, but has been like 2 catches, 4 catches here and there. It is one of those things that is it just because he's getting up there in age? Maybe. He's only got 14 catches, 175 yards, 1 touchdown. Year prior, he did have 75 catches, 1,057 yards, 7 touchdowns. He might just be in a bad system at this point. It might be just kind of a bad team, too, at this point. I'm not sure. But the big thing about adding a guy like this is adding veteran experience to the wide receiver room. And I think that is one thing that this team is lacking. A little bit more guidance, a little bit more a guy that's been there, done that, and can teach the young bucks to be able to kind of be a better team all around. So DeAndre Hopkins might be one of those guys that the Titans would move on. I know there's some rumors about that. Do you want to add another wide receiver to this team? Who knows? I'm kind of on the fence a little bit about it. Obviously I just talked about Mike Williams, but adding a DeAndre Hopkins could help out, just be that veteran guy for this team. I think that we don't really have that many guys that are beyond 4 years, maybe 5 years at this point. But adding a guy like DeAndre Hopkins could be a good move and could potentially be kind of a late round type pick thing. Salary cap situation possibly too. Help out the Titans think ahead too. So what's your thoughts on that, Bolt Bros and Bolt Babes out there? Let us know. Now moving on. This one is an interesting one. So there's been some rumors a little bit about Harrison Bryant being a guy on the trade market, and the Raiders got a little bit of a cog at the tight end position. Obviously, they got Brock Bowers last year. They obviously have had draft with heavy amount of tight ends. This is the second year in a row that they've ended up drafting another tight end and adding, Harrison Bryant on top of that. They just went heavy on the whole tight ends. Now, adding basically, say, a guy like this, Harrison Bryant, to the Chargers, you got to think about kind of what's going on with Hayden Hurst. He's kind of been getting banged up a bit and everything too. But adding a guy like this could be kind of another pass catching type tight end. Could be a physical kind of guy who was a O lineman in high school up till his senior year. The guy's got blocking ability, physical ability. He can be a guy that could catch the ball too. He might not be a bad fit all around. Once again, going back to the Raiders, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. I know Michael Mayer is out currently right now with some injuries, but you're adding a guy that might be a good fit for the Chargers. Raiders might be just looking to be able to just get as much draft capital as they possibly can. They're going to have well over $100 million to spend this upcoming year. Maybe they just want to find more guys, more draft capital to be able to add more talent, get this team young, get this team in the right direction all around. Who knows? They moved on from Davante Adams, right? So I'm not saying that Harrison Bryant is this, Davante Adams kind of guy, but he could be a guy that could really help out our tight end room all around. I know we've added some through free agency, and also we've added some to the practice squad, but maybe it's one of those guys you just add that's got another veteran experience guy that could be added to this team and be a very plug and play guy for us. So what's your thoughts on that one, bros? Now, moving on, shooting for the moon here, guys. Shooting for the moon, and I'll explain this one in depth for you guys. So, Myles Garrett, just imagine him in the Bolts, just in that powder blue, that just powder blue looked great on him, right? Got that physical nature of, having Myles Garrett on this team with Khalil Mack, Tooley, you got Bud Dupree. You got Bosa, maybe you got Bosa in this, but let's talk about this and why this potentially could be something here. Browns are 1-5. Kind of a mess at this point. Deshaun Watson contract, absolute mess of a situation. They still have basically 2 more years after this year, 25 and 26, with a cap hit of $72.9 million for both seasons coming up. That's a lot of dough for a quarterback, and a quarterback that has not been producing for this team. Pretty bad. It's tough there, guys. They obviously just got rid of Amari Cooper too. They're kind of thinking a little bit of the head at this point. The season might be very much over with for them. Adding a guy like that and getting rid of Myles Garrett, saying, hey, we're resetting this team at this point. Now, obviously, when you think about Myles Garrett's contract and what he's currently getting paid right now, it's actually pretty manageable for this team. I mean, right now, 2024, the salary cap hit is $20.1 million. Next year, 2025 is $19.7 million. 2026, $20.3 million. 2027 is a void year, but it's a $37 million cap hit. Now, we'll see where they decide to go with this. That is an extremely manageable contract to work with. Now, sometimes trades mean you have to find a way to, pay the guy again, sign him to a bigger contract or whatnot. Who knows if that's something that the Chargers will do. But once again, shooting for the moon, boys. You make trades at trades deadlines because you think, hey, we got a playoff run. We want to go deep in the playoffs. Find guys that can elevate your team, make them better. Something Tom Telesco never did. This could be that elevation type pick for this team and going after and trading for him. This is an absolute menace to the NFL. He's an absolute stud. This guy builds graveyards in front of his house of all the quarterbacks that he sacked. Like, this guy's a menace. Now, we would have a little bit of a cog at the defensive end position. What if the Browns are just finding ways to try to save money at this point? What if, I would like to be able to hear from you guys on this, we trade off Joey Bosa and we end up giving him Joey Bosa, which is a $26.1 million cap hit currently this year. It's almost a little bit of like a trading of salaries at this point for both of them. It allows kind of both teams to be able to say, hey, look, Chargers will probably take a little bit of hit on this salary cap, but at the same side, we basically get Myles Garrett. We absorb the full contract at this point, and we will have money to spend next year. Once again, these trades are setting up for next year. It's setting for the future, setting for beyond this year, but it's also allowing this year to be a year that you potentially could make a run too. You say you trade off Joey Bosa to them, get Myles Garrett, say you give him a 3rd round pick this year and for the next draft, and then another future pick, a 4th round pick based upon what Joey Bosa could do. I don't know, something like that. What if something like that would be in the cards for the Browns? I know Myles Garrett's a big player in the whole Browns ecosystem. He is a guy that is a franchise kind of guy. But once again, are they desperate to kind of rebuild? Are they just trying to get as much capital space? Are they trying to find ways to, clear up cap space? Once again, Joey Bosa's contract essentially can end after this year. It's essentially just a 1-year contract, but they can, keep him for another year for a $36.4 million cap hit. Maybe they would make this type of move just so they could kind of work a little bit of that Deshaun contract. Find ways to basically free up some cash, get younger, find ways to basically, get younger, think ahead. Maybe they'll have a shifting of a head coach at that time too. Who knows? But once again, guys, shooting for the moon here. We have not had a GM in a very long time that has shot for the moon. And Myles Garrett has been a guy that Joe Ortiz has seen a lot being with the Ravens too. So once again, guys, these are 5 players that I'm just looking at as trade targets, and I'd like to be able to hear from you on that. So once again, throw in the comments below of your thoughts of this and what's possible, maybe some of the trade, compensation that needs to happen too for these players. And are they the right players that we should be looking at? So, or is there another player you want us to talk about? So once again, guys, James from Bolt Bros, please like this video, subscribe to this channel if you've not, and we always appreciate the love and support. So let's go ahead and get out of here. Bolt Bros, let's go.
Hey, what's up? Cameron Dick here watching Bolt Bros podcast. Let's go.
Charged up, Bolt Bros on the night.